Alright everyone, we start off today with the obvious, some of the biggest political news that we've had in, well, decades actually. Donald Trump has been formally indicted by the Manhattan grand jury, of course convened as part of looking into hush money payments to Stormy Daniels, although there are other things dovetailed with it. I have a very large number of things to say about this, so definitely tune into today's live stream because I'm not going to be able to get to it all in a one-off video. Of course, I'm only half caffeinated. It's early in the morning where I am. It's not even dawn yet. Anyway, link in the description, archived of course. You can read into the story. First we'll describe exactly what he's been indicted for. Some people are saying, well, it's because he paid off the porn star that he banged. That's not why. Now, what they're claiming is that he marked those as legal expenses through his lawyer, who was formerly charged, Mike Cohen. He marked them as legal expenses, but they don't qualify as legal expenses, and so it's business fraud, effectively. And then they'll probably dovetail this in with Trump's tax returns and shit like that. You can expect them to go at the federal level, too, now. I would like to point out, though, the backstory of this. Years ago, the DOJ was looking into this case. They passed on it. They said, no, we're not going to prosecute him. Basically, there's not enough to go on. It's a far shot for them. Typically, this is a misdemeanor charge. At that time, you're talking about the ass end of the statute of limitations on it, and so the DOJ decided not to prosecute. Enter Alvin Bragg as the then newly incepted DA of Manhattan. He originally decided not to charge either. He likewise looked at the evidence in the case, said there's really not enough to go on. This despite the fact that Cohen had already been put in the hoosegow for this particular charge, and I think disbarred in the process. Now all of a sudden they impaneled a grand jury and they decided to indict. So third time's a charm, I guess. Blue Anon is happy this morning. I would say that this is going to significantly change the political spectrum of the current election that's going on. I have a feeling that Donald Trump effectively just won the Republican primaries. It would be very interesting to see how the rest of the Republican Party reacts. I don't expect his polling to go down. That puts the GOP in one hell of a pickle, where they either have the back of a person under indictment, and they should because Trump did nothing wrong. This is a kangaroo court charge. It is politically motivated. It's quite obvious. They're going to have to either defend him, or they can throw him under the bus. He might get nominated anyway, and if he doesn't, all of the MAGA voters will turn their backs on the GOP, and they will get absolutely crushed in the subsequent election. That's my prediction. If they go with DeSantis, he gets crushed. If they go with Nikki Haley, which I don't think is going to happen, they get crushed. If they try to keep Trump out and say, well, he's disqualified now, we've changed the rules or something like that, oh boy, there will be a lot of protesting going on. By the way, on that mark, if you wish to protest peaceably against this, that's fine. Be very, very careful if a bunch of dudes with aviators and closely cropped hair happen to show up. They are probably feds trying to start trouble. There will probably be leftist infiltrators at any significant rally that is held trying to start trouble. They're going to try to make Trump's fans look violent to turn off the rest of the GOP. You know, by the way, those milquetoast GOPers that are more on the partisan side, the FUD class of the Republican Party, considering that's the group that Trump actually does the most poorly with, if you look at the results in the last election with turnout, Trump has more vigor among, oddly enough, like Gen X and millennials, not so much among the boomers, as far as they vote GOP in the first place. It's really, really interesting. I have a feeling that a lot of them are going to clamber back on board because this also does something else. It means that a precedent that was set at the dawn of the country has been ignored by the Manhattan DA for political reasons. Almost 250 years of legal precedent has just been thrown out the window. Now, sets up another interesting possibility. You could see Joe Biden pardon Donald Trump if the charge goes forward and he's convicted. That would be politically interesting. It would probably also be politically expedient. Oddly enough, it gives Biden some leg to stand on. Well, you know, I'm showing my largesse, my generosity to evil Hitler Trump over here. Then all political hell breaks loose because he gets attacked by the left and all of the goofball craptovoids while getting applause from some of the center-right probably in the process. Trump either takes or doesn't take the part and might be running from, well, not a jail cell, but house arrest. That's the other interesting conundrum here. How do you, assuming he's found guilty, how do you punish a former president and a current presidential candidate and frontrunner? Well, I can't see any way other than a slap on the wrist fine that you're able to do that, but it's a felony charge. It comes with jail time. Here's the problem. Former presidents are guaranteed a security staff from the Secret Service. How do you put him in a jail cell? Well, you can't. We're not even sure that he's going to show up for the arraigning here to get the mugshot and the fingerprints. He probably should. He probably should go to Manhattan on Trump Force 1 right now and tell everyone beforehand, hey, I'm going to have a brief meet and greet on the tarmac before I go to the special event. We'll make it into a field trip, everyone. It'll be funny. I'm thinking that there's probably a reason they decided to do this at the ass end of the week, by the way. I think there's a reason that they did this going into the weekend. It's interesting timing, especially since, what happened literally a day before? Oh, they said the grand jury wasn't going to convene for a month. I don't know if they're going to convene in 4 weeks for apparently no reason since they voted to indict, or what the fuck is happening. The entire process is non-transparent, as grand juries, by the way, legally can effectively be, so it's not unconstitutional what's going on. It's just really, really a bad idea by the uniparty. And that's the final point I would make, at least beyond what I'm going to say in the live stream later. Please do tune in. Tell all of your friends, because it's going to be a goddamn banger. Probably end up spending the entire time just talking about Trump and indictment. I may not get to any of the other news stories, despite the fact that several of them are quite interesting. That's the final point that I would make people aware of. What will happen now, going forward, is you're probably going to see a bunch of desperate reaching by the deep state, by the unipartyists. They would not be doing this. They would not be rocking the boat hard enough to almost capsize it unless they were worried. Normally, the entrenched establishment tries to rock the boat as little as possible and keeps the peace. You'll have the occasional glowy op here and there just to push some sort of random ideology or a bill or something, but you don't get big events like this that overturn, again, more than 2 centuries of tradition. You don't get them very often. When they do happen, when someone is assassinated, like JFK was by the deep state, in cooperation with the commies, by the way, when you get something major like this, it's usually because there's fear there. Not because they feel like, oh, we got him this time, we're operating from a position of strength. No. You don't risk considerably sized protests, etc., for no reason. You just don't do it. Again, this is a 10 out of 10 on the political craziness scale. And you're probably going to see political craziness. Instead of bothering to go protest, by the way, there are more effective ways to do things. A national strike. For instance, everyone takes their sick leave at the same time, shutting down the economy. Bank runs, withdrawing your money from your banks, at least in part, in order to put pressure on the economic system. Keep in mind that anything that you do that harms the economy, although it may be successful in the end, will get blamed on Trump as well. Look at his crazy fans. They're willing to crash and burn the system as part of Cult 45. The stories write themselves. So, at least for the next 48 to 72 hours, don't expect people to be talking about much else other than the fallout of this. But be careful. There are glowing ones out there that want you in a prison too. So careful with who you're protesting with, what form it takes, where it happens to be. If someone asks you to enter a federal building with them, it's probably not a good idea. If they try to shove you inside, it's probably best to shove them back. Be careful. We're in untested waters, and we don't quite know what's going to happen here because the Manhattan DA, for political reasons, just shit all over our republic. This is basically New York City shitting on the entire republic to make a political point. I have a feeling it's going to backfire in a spectacular fashion. I'd be surprised if Donald Trump doesn't get reelected partially because of this, because a lot of independent voters, I think, are capable of seeing through the bullshit that's going on. If it were an actual actionable charge that didn't require upgrading to a felony by a DA's office that typically does the opposite even for severe violent crimes, Yeah, it looks a little telling. It's Trump derangement syndrome on full display for everyone. Orange Man's so bad that we have to upgrade the charge after several attempts to get it through that failed in order to go after him for what for Trump is a tiny payment because he had sex with somebody long ago. That's what this boils down to. It's Banana Republic bullshit. This is the sort of attack on a political candidate that you would see in Venezuela, that you would see in Russia, ironically enough. So, yeah, I guess Big Dom might be getting his mugshot taken. You can expect him to pose for it, by the way. I think he'll insist upon a redo if they don't do it right the first time. I think that he wants his mugshot on every front page goddamn news cover as soon as possible. I think that he would relish that. And by the way, to all of the leftoids saying we got him this time, I don't think he is goddamn remotely worried about these charges. He gets to grandstand, he's not going to prison, and he fucking knows it because of his political position, and it probably doesn't even end up in a guilty verdict in the end anyway. Again, untested waters, we have no clue what's going to happen. I'd be very surprised if they make such a charge stick. That's about all. Peace out.